How lucky were we yesterday? We got out on the GS on a beautiful 45-degree day. Got a beautiful ride. I started cleaning off the bike to get the salt off, and we had some unexpected company. So obviously, before I even go out to the garage, I got to make a plan. This will be a little bit different than a normal day. But I thought, as long as I'm going to go out to the garage and bring the bucket of stuff to clean the bike, I may as well polish those pipes. The titanium pipes on that bike that show through the fairing. I think that adds one of the little features that's just a little special about this bike. And I've noticed other people, like people with BMWs, where the two pipes stick out in the air, and when they're not all nice and polished, I think they look better polished. Anyway, we'll give this a shot today. I'll try to share what I know about polishing. And it's pouring rain out there. It's going to rain all day, so we really lucked out with leapfrogging. We got the paint on a day that was too cold to ride, but sunny. Then we got to ride on a day when it was, I count 40 degrees is about the time it stops being fun to ride. And today, on a pouring rainy day, we should be in the garage or the shop all day. So it's a little bit of a backward day. I'm trying to figure out how to use it efficiently, but it's still cold out there. It's still not a warm summer day. Dallas, when you were riding yesterday and I was riding, I'll bet I had more leather jackets on than you did anyway. Anyway, beside the point. We look at our restoration parts. I come down every morning, I oogle it, go out to the garage, flip the chargers, and I try to plan out a day. Right now I gotta have my coffee and I gotta plan out a day. Now I call it oogling, but I always like to look at the progress of the project, see what things I might have missed. Is there a step I've missed? Is there something I've skipped? Something I can do better? Now the only thing left is I have to make a final decision on what I want to do with the two wheels. I'm not sure. Well, it wouldn't matter today because it's raining today. So today will be a good day to use to polish up those pipes. And that's a relatively big job because we haven't done it in a couple of years. Now step one, I've upgraded from laundry baskets to this big dumpster. And I've got all my polishing and cleaning and buffers, and of course the most important thing, the flits. Don't want to miss the flits. 2 or 3 buffers, electric drills, pads. Anyway, when you're addicted to polishing, this is what you wind up with. But it's not much of a secret. I do like shiny, smooth stuff. I've liked it ever since I was a kid. And to be honest, I'm still a kid at heart. I still love going out to the garage and polishing motorcycles. And even the cleanup parts of this, like the sprocket and the brake discs, every part of it contributes to just having. Springtime's going to be here. There'll be leaves on the trees. And I hope our motorcycle's going to be sparkling. And we're going to enjoy the hell out of it. Now I just checked the temperature. It is about 40 degrees right now, but it's still going to be cold out in that garage laying on the garage floor. Yeah, no chance we're going to do any painting outside today. This will be a good day. More rain coming. Poor Treezilla. Treezilla's down for the count. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to just get some of the salt off of this. It makes me crazy when you have to ride in the salty conditions. Let me just show this. If I take my finger, you can see. I don't like that at all. And if you look at the video from yesterday, the tires were white. See, this is the edge of the salt right here. I want to get as much of that off as I can. Mainly the wheels and mainly in by the exhaust pipes. That's where it's the worst. So before I even start this cleanup here, I'm trying to get the garage moved around. I've got to move a lot of stuff around. But I always keep as much of the wax and polish and everything down in the cellar over the winter months, because what I don't want to happen, a lot of those products, when they freeze, they're just not the same after they thaw out. And some of them tell you right on the product, do not let it freeze. Well, this garage unfortunately freezes all the time. So after riding, anytime I ride in the salt, the first thing is I try to get some Meguiar's Quick Wax on all of the exposed paint, especially the wheels. It's always, by the way, this is a good thing for cleaning salt off. It goes on nice. And what I do, just as soon as you're done wiping it, put it on, wipe it right off. It leaves, and it actually makes it nice and shiny too. But the main thing is to get off the salt.
Now, there's nothing that gets dirtier on a bike than the back wheel. And just for a quick example of how much salt we've picked up yesterday that I can get. Oh my God. But it's so worth it, because if you don't get to ride all winter, I think you have severe psychological problems. It could lead to mental health issues. You could become crazy if you don't get to ride for 3 or 4 months in a row. And it's good therapy for me when I come out here. It's definitely cold out here, and it's raining, and I just keep thinking, what else would I rather be doing today? What else would float my boat? Well, having these bikes nice and clean. And boy, we had a great ride yesterday. I hope you can check out the video sometime. And one of my favorite jobs with any air-cooled bike, the RD, this bike, I like to, because there's salt on the front fins of this engine. And if you leave it there, what happens as time goes by, that aluminum it corrodes, and it really looks terrible. Not to me. It takes 2 minutes to do this. It's like, I call this brushing your teeth. I got to learn how to do that one of these days. But anyway, what we have, and it's one of my favorite little things, it's just an ordinary painting stick. You can carve a point to the front of it. If there's little spots like this you have to get into. And to me, this is relaxing, because I like having the bike clean. Now, some people don't. I understand that. I always have to preface it, because I don't want people thinking I'm like I would ride around and say, oh, my bike's cleaner than your bike. That's not it at all. I just like it for me. Like it, I love it. Anyway, boy, that ride yesterday floated my boat. Now, of course, we're looking at maybe a month minimum, 2 months maximum of real riding time, and time we have left for our restoration. You do always want to clean the spark plug caps. You always notice a person that doesn't do the right maintenance. They don't clean it. I gotta tell Luciano that, he'll go crazy. Not go crazy, I'm making him crazy. Anyway, I don't expect a lot of people would enjoy this like I do, but I do. I'm a workaholic, and this is the way I relax. And this is something I get at AutoZone. I use a lot of this. Mag and aluminum polish. Real good for doing polish. Actually, it's even okay for paint, but it does remove a lot of material. Now, it works out well. These little sponge, this is just actually a soft sponge. And, of course, where else available from Harbor Freight? And the drill, Harbor Freight. Now, at the end of this cleanup, I'll put a little bit of flitz by hand, or with the little buffer that they give you with it, or they sell with it, I should say. And by the way, that video on my channel that's dedicated to using flitz and polishing aluminum, some good information on there. You just look up flitz. So it does take time. Now, around the exhaust pipes is I have not been real successful at doing that any way other than by hand. And I'll show my little trick that I use, but it's certainly not, it's labor intensive, that's for sure. I know I've shown this on other videos, but this is just a strip of microfiber. A little bit of that aluminum polish. You don't have to overdo it on the aluminum polish, that's for sure. Now, there's an idea with this that's important to understand. Yeah, you can do most of this by hand, but there's always some spot it's really impossible to get by hand unless you have these little baby fingers. And what happens with these, the exhaust system on these bikes, you can't buy it anymore. They're not expensive, they're priceless. So what happens is, I don't want this one to rust and rot away. I have two stock exhaust systems, and I want to keep them both. I have at least once a year I'll go downstairs where the other one is stored. I store it downstairs, and I'll put a real good coat of flitz on it. In fact, I've already shown on the video how to restore that, get the rust off and everything. It's on another video, I know that. But if you just do this, it takes a minimum amount of time. And what happens is, I don't want at the end of this, even if there's a little bit of rust developing, I don't want it to get worse. Now, what's happening with this, because this is now, let's see, it's an 82 bike, so it's way over 37 years old, 38 years old, whatever the hell it is. Maybe I should have paid attention in school. But here's the thing. If you maintain it, and I know people like Dallas that send me pictures of their bike, they do this maintenance. It will outlive you. You don't do the maintenance, and the rust will always win. Now, I can imagine that most people, this would not be the most enjoyable 5 minutes of their day, but you know what? When you know everything's clean as a whistle, and not only appearance, that the things are not going downhill like poop through a goose. You cannot, I have never seen one of these exhaust systems for sale that's in better shape than the two that I have. And you know what? I don't intend to let them go downhill, and because I can never buy another one. And keeping these up, it's that thing we always talk about, a labor of love. Just once you accept that in your life, the rest is easy. But always, while I'm under here, I'll get all that salt out, the crap out. And to me, that is worth it. Absolutely worth it. And just knowing that I'm not going to wake up someday and there'll be a rust spot through, and it's worth the effort, worth every minute. And there's a lot of the parts you just have to do by hand. There's just no machine that'll get in all these little corners and edges unless you made up some special Dremel tools or something. But now, if I did this once over the course of the winter to each one of the bikes, and I usually do it more than once, I spend a half an hour, 45 minutes. What happens is come springtime, the bikes aren't all in need of tremendous maintenance. And there's times that there was a year that I was sick over the winter for a good part of it, and I let the bikes, I didn't even do the battery tenders religiously and stuff. And what happened, springtime came, and I had, boy, it was like a whole day to clean the bike. When you do it little by little by little, it just seems like, and every time I do it, it's enjoyable. I have a little bit of enjoyment from it, and what can I say? It's a labor of love. So the way this morning played out, I knew Karen had some errands to do this afternoon, so on this rainy day, I wish I would have gotten this done yesterday. I don't even like to let that salt stay overnight, but that's done. We get back from our errands, back from buying more bananas or whatever we have to do. I'll get on those titanium pipes. Now there's 7 grades of titanium. Usually they make the tubing out of the softest, so it polishes relatively easily. I'll try to show what I know about that. But right now, we take our break for errands. Boy, I always love getting my errands done. Coming back, knowing I have a good bite out of the day's work. The GS is done, and we're ready to start on those titanium pipes. And I have a truckload of groceries. Boy, it's not like yesterday pulling into the driveway. What a day yesterday was. Anyway, back to work. The titanium is calling. Now, I found titanium doesn't polish a whole lot different than stainless steel or steel. It's a little bit tougher than aluminum. Aluminum is just simple dimple. I would say paint is the easiest, aluminum second, titanium and steel third. But still, it's not something that's out of the realm of doing it yourself. Now there's 3 things that are real handy. This is the ball. It's just a polishing ball that goes in an electric drill. This is the one I usually use for the flits, for the final, but we have several of them, to get into some tight areas. And then there's a smaller one that allows you to get around areas. But basically those 3 are good for doing most of it. And then the final bit, of course, you always have to do by hand or with that little piece of microfiber. I wanted to start with a little view of just what these look like. They've been polished, oh, maybe a year and a half ago. But we could bring this right back to its... See, once you do the good polishing, you really spend some time polishing it, then maintaining it is relatively easy. And the answer would be anytime you have the fairing off the bike, or you're doing an oil change, or you have that lower part on this bike, the lower part comes right off, just run a little bit of that polish over it, even by hand, and it'll stay that way forever. So again, what I always try to do with all of my videos is show one part of something in real time, so you can get some idea how long each of these processes take. Certainly not forever, but now I just want to show, and that's that mag polish, and that ball tool I couldn't find in Harbor Freight. I had to buy that at Gavin's, and I think it was about $7. Get some idea of just, I think it's a lot nicer. Now, obviously, we're going to be going around the pipe, and a lot of this I have to lay on a floor to do. And then the parts that go around the back, I'll use that rag. So once this is all polished up, it'll be really nice because you'll look through the front of the fairing and you'll be able to see the polished parts of that. Kind of a cool exhaust system. I think you get the idea. Now, the final little bit that I've got that done, I go over it by hand and wrap around with the rag so I can get the parts of it that I don't really see, but I really can't get my finger in there, or any of the tools. So the last little bit is always by hand. And whenever I see a BMW with those pipes sticking out the front, doesn't matter what model, what make, when those pipes are not in great shape, or even a Moto Guzzi where the pipes are very visible. See, these old bikes, some of the old bikes like the GS, the exhaust system is part of the style of the bike. And a Honda 750. And when it's rusty and crappy, the whole bike looks crappy. This is one of the parts that when you look into the fairing and see this, you know that this person that did the restoration cared. They didn't do it just on a whim. And the last little bit, always by hand. Everything I do, the last little bit, you can use machines in the beginning, you can rough things out, but in the end you become a shoe shine guy. Yeah, that finalizes that, and that is one little step, one little detail, just like everything on this project. One little detail that when you look in the front of that fairing, hopefully it'll look a lot nicer than it did before. It's funny, on the R1, those pipes, when I look in the front of the fairing from certain angles, those pipes really look nice, and I'm so glad I took the time to polish them. Now, I often think, why do I like my GS so much? I've had it since 82. One of the things, it's a small thing, but it dawned on me yesterday, one of the reasons I like it. It has a buttery, smooth shift, easy clutch. It never grinds going into gear. And that's just so pleasant when you're riding. It's just like a free bonus. And I guess if by now it isn't going to start to do anything funny, I guess we're safe. I guess this bike will truly outlive me. Now, I do have a little bit of time left over. I'm not at the end of the work session today, and I thought I'd pull out the RD and go over the cases. Now, and the RD has very little aluminum to polish, but these parts, and you can see, because I haven't done them in a while, I'm going to try to do one little spot. I could do it with a glove, in fact. You see, it just gets a little bit. Now, let's see if you can see that. Yeah, sure you can see it. It gets a little bit nicer just from polishing it with a glove, but we're going to use some of that mag polish. Now, what I wanted to do, and I'll get the camera without a cramp. I don't want to have a camera cut. I always like no camera cuts. I want to show, and let's see if you can see this in real life. See, without a camera cut, everything is. Now, can you see how quickly that buffed up compared to that? World of difference. And it only takes a few minutes. And if you don't have a buffing reel, you can do it by hand. Even up here, you can see that when I get done with this, this should be really nice. And the last step I would always do whenever I'm done polishing any metal, put a coat of Flitz on it with that Flitz buffing ball. It's really good corrosion protection. Maybe that's why these things only have to be done every so often. I'm not sure. Because I don't have any raw aluminum that isn't flitzed once in a while. And then in the end, the last little bit, you always wind up having to do by hand. Oh, whenever I'm done polishing anything up here and I put it back in its slot, next time we get to ride the RD, I'll feel a lot better about having an engine clean. Or as Luciano always says, it's like putting on a pair of fresh underwear, and he's right. And one of these days I'm going to head out to Kmart and get a couple of pair of fresh underwear. Anyway, we really did spend this day productively. It's a rainy day. Absolutely nothing else we could have done productive. I really think this day played out very well. And we've got another nice detail on that. Oh, I'm telling you, every day. I know I sound like I'm on drugs or something, but I am really happy the way this whole project is coming together. So it's time to put everything back in a bucket and get back down in the cellar where it's nice and warm. Now, I thought because this is a video about polishing, and this is a product, I think I bought it at AutoZone, White Diamond, and I thought when I bought this, I thought I had put it in the garage, and it was at the bottom of my bucket, but I didn't get to use this today. This is a polish, though, that is really good. And what's good about this, it chemically removes some of the oxidation when you haven't. I actually could have used it today. Shame on me. What you put this on, you rub it on, and then let it sit for about a minute, and you wipe it off, and it chemically takes off some of the oxidation. And I do think I do remember buying this in AutoZone maybe, but it is. I always like to plug a good product. This is a good product, White Diamond, worth trying if you like polished aluminum. There's one final tip that I think is really worth its weight in gold. Whether you're polishing aluminum frames, aluminum handlebars, no matter what you're polishing, even if it's paint, there's always a good tip. Is always have a fresh, clean microfiber that has no wax, no dirt, no grease. And at the very end, when you think you're done, run that over the part. It's always a good idea to get that slime off, especially if you're doing an engine. Now, the reason is, when you polish an engine part and you leave some of that wax on, or some of that, even Flitz, I guess, I'm not sure about Flitz, but any of these polishes, especially the Meguiar's ones that have a waxy kind of thing of a sealant, well, here's what happens when you leave that on
and then you go out for a ride, a lot of times it bakes it on, and then getting it off is twice as much work. But this was a day well spent. I feel like, well, not only having the ride, having the wheels under control, and of course the best thing of all, coming out to the garage and oogling the bikes. I'm going to have my coffee. Now with everything polished, it just couldn't be a better way to end the day. Now even Midgley will be impressed with this. I used up a piece of scrap carbon fiber here to fix the threshold that pretty much was coming unglued after 100 years, I guess. So we're the only shop in town that has a carbon fiber threshold. Midgley, I hope you're impressed. And as always happens, I never know when a day starts, how it's going to end, what I'm going to get done, if anything, what the errands of the day are going to be. This day just went. But at the end of the day, I have the bikes polished. I've just come in here and oogle this wheel. I've had extra cups of coffee, and I got that threshold fixed with carbon fiber. That threshold was, and I thought, how cool is this? I have this. Why am I doing this with wood? Wood's going to rot away. Carbon fiber thresholds. It's the latest and greatest in housing. Anyway, we really had a good day, despite the fact it rained all day, and our project is moving along. And as long as every day when I come down here I can oogle the parts and look at this and polish something and drink some coffee, I'm happy. It's way better than that day I always think about on Rikers Island. Anyway, hope you're not on Rikers Island. And just for the record, that salt on the bike, it's a 2-hour ride and a 4-hour clean. It's really ridiculous. But anyway, but it is worth getting a ride. A ride on a GS, it adds 1 year to your life. Anyway, Dallas, I hope you're riding too. And everybody, Joe, I hope you're riding your GS, and I'm telling you, this has been a great winter. Anyway, again, hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.